Hola, mi gente, and welcome to Cuéntame con Sonia Camacho. This short form podcast features the stories of Latinos from our community. From engineers, business owners, students, and so much more, each episode will give you a quick boost of motivation and encouragement before starting your day. I'm your host, Sonia Camacho. Thank you for being here. Now let's get into today's episode. All right, welcome back to Cuéntame con Sonia Camacho. Thank you guys so much for being here. Today I have an awesome guest. Her name is Brianne Martin. She's also known as the People Engineer. She's an international speaker and a continuous improvement consultant. She has a vast range of experiences in global manufacturing, cross-functional teams, and launching new products across multiple plants. She has harnessed the power of people, processes, and performance and started BCM Engineered Solutions. Her services include facilitation, kaizens, and specialize in digital transformations, change management, and automation. She's amazing, you guys. We go way back. I actually saw Brianne's interview with BuzzFeed back in, I think, 2019 it was. And so I actually knew about Brianne before she even knew about me. And we've actually grown quite a friendship. So I'll let Brianne do a little introduction of herself as well in case we missed anything.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. It's an honor and congratulations on the podcast. I think just like random fun facts, I'm a fourth generation Tejana. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. And I don't know, I'm obsessed with all things people, process, efficiencies, and, just solving problems and having fun.
Love that. And yeah, thank you for giving a little bit about your background as well, because as you know, this podcast is going to be highlighting Latinos from all different types of industries and backgrounds. So I think it's really awesome that we're able to get an engineer on one of the very first few episodes. Okay, so you touched on your education and how you studied mechanical engineering. And I really want this episode to highlight, some of the struggles and experiences that you went through during that time, and really focusing on a learning mindset. So if you want to tell us a little bit more about where you went, and then we can get started from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, grew up, born and raised in Texas, and we have amazing, engineering schools here in Texas. But just with my own experience, I was kind of like, this is my chance for adventure. I get to get out. I'm very grateful. My mom was a big supporter of me, so she said, you can always come home, but you don't always have a chance to leave and try something new. So I traveled 1,000 miles away to school to go to Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fell in love with the school, the mission. Their school slogan is "Be the Difference." And really just fell in love with the campus, the people, and just like the way that they approached teaching engineering and truly like being the difference in whatever world, role, or position that you were holding while you were learning to become an engineer.
Yeah, and I also want to ask you before we get into anything more, what made you choose mechanical engineering? Because I don't know if your high school or anything had engineering courses or anything like that, but I feel like oftentimes, like Latinos, we don't have that push to go into these difficult fields. So, what was that spark for you that really got you into becoming a mechanical engineer?
Yeah, I will say I similarly did not have any type of program or exposure to STEM in particular or engineering. I will say my family is a big supporter of it. So my grandpa was actually a masoner, so a bricklayer. He never even knew how to read or write his own name. So never stepped foot in a school. He, was doing hard manual labor since he was 5 years old. But he could literally do calculus in his head. Like he was so smart. To what I now know is calculus 3, right? As he was doing integrals and like calculating volumes of stuff. um, and then there was my mom who, she was welding barbecue pits when she was in high school and, was very mechanically inclined. And so between the two of them, which I both admire as kind of my role models and inspiration in life, I was just kind of encouraged to do things with my hands, to build things, to ask questions, to be curious and inquisitive. And so then my freshman year in high school, we actually, again, by the grace of God, ended up moving to Elko, Nevada for a year. And I took a hand instrument drafting class. And Sonia, I cannot draw stick figures to save my life, but the fact that I could draw a 3-dimensional isometric view of something was just so cool. And again, with, slide rules and pencils and, T-squares. And so it was just so amazing to be able to do that. And I thought, okay, whenever I can do this, and just make stuff happen and use my imagination to be creative and make stuff, like I'm all game for it. And so I had already really been intrigued by cars and simple machines and you name it. So it was just a perfect fit.
Okay, so you told us a little bit about your upbringing and how you were introduced to design at an early age and how having a strong work ethic has kind of always run in the family. But now I really want to talk about your experience at Marquette University, and I'm really interested on hearing the emotions and everything that you went through at that time. So let's get into it.
Yeah, well, I will say, I think, like anyone's just first time going away from family is a big change. At 18 years old, you're making this big life, changing decision. So then to be 1,000 miles away from my mom was huge. I was raised by her, just as a single parent. So, like just being able to like learn and be my own person was a huge change. Additionally, I suffered a lot of childhood trauma, and so being alone by myself and kind of figuring out the type of person I wanted to be, and learning how to now deal with those things that I had suppressed or hadn't really, dealt with or healed yet. I didn't even realize that was a thing, that was coming up. And so learning how to navigate that, really just struggling with failure. I tell people I registered for Cal 2 twice, or sorry, 5 times. I failed twice, withdrew twice, and passed the fifth time with a B. And so just having to face that, I was like a B student, maybe an A-minus student without even trying. High school was kind of boring for me. And so to now be challenged and really have to rely on myself while battling a lot of these self-doubt, mental health kind of struggles, was really just took a huge toll on me. And so I was on academic probation the first time, my sophomore year, and then midway through my junior year, I was put on academic probation a second time. And so I inevitably kind of got asked to take a break and try again. To which I was like, no, like, I'm gonna move back to Texas where the tuition is in state and it's a lot cheaper, because I was going to a private school then. And again, thankfully, with all the internships I had great mentors, people who believed in me, were strong advocates and sponsors for me. And so really helped kind of push me until I finally finished. So it took me 5.5 years. To all my fellow engineers out there, being a super senior is nothing new. um, that's how exactly, yeah, that's how I made it through.
So I think you touched on something really important that our Latino community doesn't always necessarily hear about, which is mental health. So what was that turning point for you where you realized that you were dealing with these issues? And me myself, I have ADHD and anxiety and depression, so I can totally relate on that, on how it's different once you get to college and you're not in your home life anymore. Maybe these feelings and emotions are becoming more prevalent. So how did you deal with that? And I also really want to dive into the emotions that you felt during your time at Marquette University, being on academic probation, and really channel who you were at that time and what that Brianne was feeling. Like, was she scared? Was she nervous to tell her parents? Like, how was she dealing with being on academic probation at Marquette University? What was she going through?
Yeah, and I'll be honest too, like I didn't even know that I also had ADHD and was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder until I transferred and I was able to kind of go through university counseling. And so, like I said, that wasn't even a resource. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm very grateful. My mom would always encourage me, like, if you ever feel like you need to talk to someone or, see a therapist, like, let me know. And I don't know how it works, but I'll figure it out. And so when I finally moved and I was like, like, let me try to get a fresh start and like figure out like what's going on. So to actually, like I said, talk to a therapist, figure that out was huge. But honestly, Sonia, like that's kind of how it all started is, as after I transferred, I was being very open and honest. Like I'm not ashamed of where I am. Like I'm actually really proud of myself for fighting through, like for whatever reason, I still believe in this dream to be an engineer, and I'm not letting it go. And my mom told me something very powerful, right? Like if it takes you 10 years, like that's only a drop in the bucket if you're going to be working as an engineer for the next 40 to 50 years. So who cares how long it takes you, and if it's one class at a time, then just do what you got to do. And so I think just having that perseverance to like tenacity to keep going, was really instilled in me. And it was always, again, like if you need to take a break or if you need a pause, like there wasn't real no shame in that. And I'm very grateful. My mom was always my backbone when I felt like I didn't really have it in me to keep going, just because her belief in me was so strong. And so to your point, when it comes to those type of like mental health struggles, be kind to yourself. I think that was the biggest thing is I just always felt like I was broken. And so just realizing like, hey, if you're running on a spare tire, like it's okay to pull over and like take a break or change your tire if you need to, like make sure you have the things that are in not even like your wheelhouse, but just resources, like counseling, like medicine, if it's you so choose, like friends, a good support group, like the way to be able to take care of yourself, because there's so many different aspects that we potentially could have control over, but in just the whirlwind of emotions and frustrations, we very rarely give ourselves time to kind of see, okay, let me pause and let me think and act with intention. How can I either be better or how can I improve whatever situation I'm in? And so I think just being willing to admit your shortcomings, was a big part of that growth mindset. Okay, like what can I learn or where am I falling short? And how do I find ways to help kind of plug those gaps?
Everything you said was amazing, and I just really want to highlight the growth mindset and how that means that you have to be okay with failure, because in order to learn, you have to fail at things in order to learn those new skills and build up your knowledge. And I think that is something that we are all scared of when it comes to the growth mindset, because we are terrified of failing. No one wants to fail, but you cannot move on and grow unless you fail. So I think that's amazing that you share your stories, because now you are here. And this is what I really want to ask you next: your future plans and how you've created BCM Engineering Solutions. So, what is next? What are some of your goals that you can share with us?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Well, I am really launching and putting in a lot of energy these days into, again, my consulting firm, which is BCM Engineered Solutions. And what's really cool is I really focus on humans and harmony. I'm a nerd for all things processes, performance, and, just having these opportunities for continuous improvement, these small incremental changes, but really focused on the people aspect. People are kind of the most untapped resource, but also the most complex. And so the more that we learn and we're investing in our people, like there's a huge opportunity for us to kind of make the most of that. And so in doing so, that's kind of where I focus in and specialize, especially in the world of, like I said, automation. People get really excited about digital transformation and industry 4.0. And so when you think about the Internet of Things and you have integrations, sometimes we, again, need to pause, right, to take time and intention to set up, is it even working the best way that it could currently? Are there any adjustments? Really honing in and focusing on like specific areas, and then making those small little adjustments of continuously improving them, coming back, checking in. Is it working the way we thought? Any adjustments? And like, how do you get the most buy-in for the people that, and I say matter most because it's everywhere from the top leadership down to the mechanics, the machinists, the operators that are kind of doing the day-to-day work. And maybe they are the experts, been doing it for 20, 30 years. And so making sure that everyone's at the table, and that everyone's in the right seat, that people are happy, because overall people do enjoy their jobs. Everyone takes pride being able to, like, clock in or clock out and say like, oh, I did a good job today. And so how do we set up the culture, the company operations process wise, to reflect that and to give people the chance to do their best and be proud of the work that they do.
Well, Brianne, that is just so awesome and commendable that you are really starting this company and this brand from the ground up. But that is all the time that we have today. I will have all of her socials and her website linked on this episode. Thank you so much, Brianne, for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what is in store for you next.
Well, thank you for having me. And again, congratulations on creating this place and space for it. I'm excited to follow along and wish you the best as much as I can. So thank you for what you do and appreciate you having me on.
Follow the podcast on all social platforms at Cuéntame con Sonia Camacho. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Want to be featured in a future episode? Email cuéntame.sonia@gmail.com. Thank you to our equipment sponsor, Shure.